VirtualCol have released their Embraer E170 and E175 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's not anything to shout about. Let's get into this review. Yes, that's right folks, another airliner for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but that does mean sadly we've got another aircraft to take a look at, and it's not very good. I'm going to start off with that. Some of you might find some use for it, but I cannot see any. But before we get into it, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. I do videos like this all the time, keeping you up to date with the most important Microsoft Flight Simulator news and giving you independent and unbiased reviews of good or bad add-ons like this one. Now first of all, let's talk a bit about VirtualCol. They've made one aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator already, that would be the Beechcraft 99, and it would be fair to say I had my opinions on that. It wasn't very good. So does this Embraer E-Jet finally meet my expectations of an add-on? Well, they've strangely marketed this in a good way, which means technically I can't complain, but I will do anyway. Let's just have a read on the Sim Market website where it states what VirtualCol are doing. So here I go, have a listen to this one. We're proud to present our second product for Microsoft Flight Simulator, this time taking care in details and functionality to the maximum which we were allowed by Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is a product, as others developed by us, keeps beginners and flight simmers in mind, does it now? However, it fulfills, a strange word to put there, I've got to say. However, it fulfills our policies for basic standards, and its price makes it very affordable for all customers. This is not a study level product, put into caps lock. This time we deliver 3 models, ERJ170, ERJ175 and ERJ175 with winglets, and 30 liveries in an Ultra HD format to avoid a loss of details. So an interesting paragraph there which almost expects that they're going to get backlash for it. It's almost as if they're preparing and telling themselves, it's okay guys, because we charged about over £20 or just over £20 for this product, what can you expect? You can't expect anything good. But you can still expect a nice aircraft for paying £22 or €25 or just over $27 US. Do you get one? Well, after watching this review, I'm sure you'll come to your own conclusion. But I just thought I'd read that before, so just bear it in mind as we go through this review. So I've talked about price. I mean, it's not the end of the world expensive. I mean, I'm happy to pay £22 on an aircraft somewhat like this. But it hasn't met my expectations so far. Externally, it is okay, I would say. It's not fantastic. It does remind me quite a bit like Flight Simulator X. I mean, yeah, just look at the end of the wing here. It's not good, is it? I mean, you can see the shapes. You can see them. That's not how an aircraft looks in real life, I do hate to say. And yeah, you can see these textures are not 3D. What on earth has gone on here? Speaking of textures, let's give a positive. I don't like these reviews to be completely negative. There's 30 liveries, which is fantastic, stemming across 3 models, and from afar these liveries look fantastic, pretty good. And you can see here on the end of the wing, I believe these are the static sticks that allow for electric discharge. You can see they're not even matching up with the textures on the wing, especially that top one on there. Is this effort, guys? Is this really what I've paid £22 for? Well, yes, sadly, but I hope in doing so I can educate you guys and give you a view on this aircraft so you can make the informed decision whether you buy it or not. That's my aim in this video. It's not to completely knock off this aircraft, it's to highlight you to the pros and cons of it. Landing gear is okay, but you can see the wheels aren't round, which you can just about see it there. I'm not even too sure if they're touching the ground. Before I burst into tears, let's hop into the cockpit to see if it can relieve some of the stress I'm experiencing at the moment. Oh dearie me. Let me just have a few seconds to take this in. Welcome to Flight Simulator X, guys. We're reviewing a freeware product. No, we're not, sadly. We're 10 years too late. We're in Microsoft Flight Simulator, a next generation flight sim. And this just looks like it's been pulled out of Flight Simulator X. In fact, I'm pretty sure I remember going on all the slightly dodgy Flight Simulator X websites and downloading an aircraft like this. I mean, the cockpit looks almost identical. It's clear they've ported it over. Texturing is horrific. We've got this issue with the flight director up here, which I cannot get away at. It's always gone that way. We'll talk about autopilot later. I don't know what it's doing now I talk about it. Just look at the textures here, guys. This is the 21st century. And 20 years after the millennium. We should not be seeing this anymore. It's not Flight Simulator 2004. FMC default A321. Most of these screens taken from default Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft, as they state in their store, so I guess I can't really complain about that. I know what I was buying. I have to say, a lot of the buttons do actually work. Here's another bit of praise. Quite a few buttons work, especially on the overhead panel. They haven't really got any sound. Flaps do, but yeah, it's not Microsoft Flight Simulator standard, is it, guys? Now, looking at the overhead panel, I can confirm a lot of this works. Almost all of the buttons I can press around here. In fact, I struggled to find one I couldn't press. Doesn't mean they all do their intended purpose, but hey, at least they're putting some functionality in. So if you don't necessarily care about textures or systems, you might not be so worried there. Autopilot, we've got an extensive autopilot system that seems to rely on default Microsoft Flight Simulator systems. Yeah, it's okay, it works, I've tested around with it. On the ECAS display down here, we have got some custom alerts, I guess, that have been pulled and kind of converted along with some Microsoft Flight Simulator ones. I'm guessing from the CJ4 and A320 and maybe 787 all put together. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Texturing, it's not winning here, is it, guys? Let's be honest. I took this aircraft for a flight around Amsterdam earlier, and I can say it was literally a flight from hell. The flight model isn't right. I've flown airliners on flight sims for 3 years now, and one I couldn't take off. I'd set up all correctly, going off what the FMC had said, put all the correct settings down, and it was swaying one way. It just wasn't doing it right. Here you can see it on the screen now. Up in the sky, it did feel a little better. I did get autopilot working, although it did have a tendency to fly me towards the ground. Maybe that's just because I'm not familiar with it, and I was doing something horrifically wrong, so I just took manual control. And landing, well, landing, we won't talk about it. Yeah, it didn't go well. I crashed, and then I did that thing where you reload from the main menu, so I didn't have to fly this horrific aircraft around again. And guess what? All the systems had shut down, so I crashed again. What a fantastic result. 2 crashes on 2 flights. I'm really winning here. I did try again, and it wasn't the best landing. I mean, I'm not going to show it, or it wasn't great. It's embarrassing, quite frankly. I'm not too sure whether it's me and my inexperience, or the flight model. I think it's a bit of both. Ground handling is okay. It performs okay on taxi. It's not impossible to taxi. I guess it's quite a light and agile aircraft. And externally, there's some good animations, such as the doors opening, and the engines to a certain extent. Now let's run through the pros and cons. So, externally speaking, this aircraft looks okay. If I saw this from afar without looking at the windows or inside the engines, I'd think, yeah, it looks pretty decent. Unless you look up close and then you start seeing some of the discrepancies. In addition, the 3 models and the 30 liveries is certainly a nice touch, and it's nice to see you getting at least some value there for some static objects. VirtualCol claims to provide a affordable value for money aircraft. Do you get it? Well, I guess it's how you look at it. From the outside, it doesn't look overly bad. I wouldn't say it's horrific. Certainly not the worst model I've seen. We've got some good animations. But aside from that, I'm really struggling to say some nice things about it. Inside, it is abhorrent. There is a cabin, but it's clear it's been pulled over from previous versions. Generally looks like it was made in 2006. It's just not good, guys. This really is not the standard we should come to expect with Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's the one we're getting to know, purely because so many companies are just pumping out rubbish, quite frankly, in order to turn a quick profit and say, oh, we're not charging too much, we're not charging £40 to £60 for it, we're only charging £22. £22 is still a lot of money. Few hours work here in the UK, depending on where you are. It's not something that should be easily spent. And as I always say, the problem with these aircraft is that airliners always pull the inexperienced and younger people in, who will happily pay £22 of their pocket money over for aircraft like this. And it's really not on. I cannot say it enough. You're not getting value for money. I mean, I haven't said the word study level once in this video, I might have said it once, but I don't expect a study level aircraft for this amount of money. I do expect a nice aircraft that looks like it's designed for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This one does not tick the box for that. The cockpit is horrific, sounds are okay, animation's okay, external model, yeah, it's a difficult one, somewhat okay, flight model, not very good as far as I know, performance, yes it will do, I guess. Overall, it's an okay aircraft. But then you factor in the issue that I paid £22 for it. £22, this is not on. I'd pay maybe £5, maybe if I had to push £10. But no, this is not a nice aircraft. You can even hear now and see inside the engine the bad animations, and you can hear the sound loops just playing over and over again. It's depressing, quite frankly, and I hope Microsoft Flight Simulator and the community can move away from cheap, quick fill aircraft like this. But anyway guys, just my opinion. If you disagree, be sure to put it down in the description. It's a good aircraft for eye candy, that's all I can really say. Looks okay from the outside. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you to my first class channel members, my first class flyers. They're on the screen now. If you want to become a channel member, consider clicking that blue join button. But from me today, that is all. Bye bye.